Aloha, and thank you for joining us on this A Better Day. I'm Sam Slom, and for the next half hour, we hope you'll join us and stay with us to try to get an update, information about your state legislature, and I've got a special guest that you'll enjoy meeting in just a few moments. Wow, can you believe it? We're in March already. The legislature is halfway through, and it's not a question of whether the glass is half full or half empty. It's whether your wallet is half full or half empty, because the state legislature has bills that are still alive that try to increase various taxes, a lot of fees. And remember, fees can be just as deadly as taxes because you have to pay them, and oftentimes they're not related to the services that you're being charged for. In any event, here we are. Now we start settling out the 3,000 bills that were introduced at the beginning in January. We go till May 7th, so there's still a lot of time, and there's still time for you to get involved. And you know that our office in the Senate minority always encourages you, don't give up, don't be frustrated, don't be apathetic. Get involved in your government, and if you need any help, we'll be glad to help you. There's the legislative office that helps people, the access room, public access room. There's plenty of ways to get help and to participate, and you need to do that because we need to hear your voice. Well, one of the things that the state Senate does that the House doesn't do is to confirm governor's appointments. A couple of new Governor Ige's appointments were controversial. A couple were withdrawn, and at this point we still have a few that have to be confirmed by the full Senate, but we're doing that. At the beginning of the legislature, every year it seems, you hear about some of the same things. Legalize marijuana. Let's have more gambling or some types of gambling, and physician-assisted suicide. Well, those bills came again this year, but as I always tell you, the main thing is the money bills. Money. That's what this building is all about. That's what everybody comes down here for. They don't come down here for friendship and fellowship. They come for money. But here's the secret. We don't have any money in this building. The only money we've got is money that we take away from you and your families. And for 1.3 million people in the state of Hawaii, we are definitely overtaxed, overburdened, and one of the top 3 worst states in the nation in terms of the costs of government and the costs of taxation. So my job, the job of the Senate minority, is to oppose these tax increases. I haven't found one that was justified yet. People talk about if we just had more money. Will that give us better education? No. Will that give us a viable rail transit system? No. We still have the train to nowhere, which is overspending millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and is only 5% finished. Will we have a better health care system? With Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, the answer is no, we won't. So it's not a question of more money. It's a question of more oversight and more responsibility. You have to hold us to be accountable and to be responsible for not only your money, but the choices we make in your name. And that's why it's important to get involved, and you still can. So give our office a call, or as I say, the public access room. We'll be glad to help you. We'll give you hearing notices. We'll let you know or find out where the bills are at any time. And of course, my staff is always helpful, always ready to help you. Our door never closes, so come down and see us or give me a call personally. We are dealing with the budget. The governor came in with a budget that increases about 5% over the next fiscal year. That's fiscal year 2116. I'm 100 years ahead or 100 years behind. 2016, which starts July 1st, and then fiscal year 17, which starts the following year. The governor actually has to prepare a 6-year budget. The legislature adopts a 2-year budget and then comes back the next year with a supplemental budget. So right now, we're looking at yet another increase for the fiscal year coming up, 16, and then we're looking for a more substantial increase in 17. Now that's based on the premise that things are going to get better here economically. But all the people that I talk to are still struggling. It's still very difficult. And yes, we have some bright spots like the visitor industry, but construction, except for a few specific projects, people are still sitting on the bench and they're waiting for an overall boom in construction. We don't have a resilience in the housing market. That's why people are still looking for housing. That's why the housing prices go up. It's supply and demand. If you've got a great demand but you don't have much supply, that forces the prices up, and you know that if you've been in the market. We're still talking about affordable housing, but what is affordable in Hawaii? $1 million? $2 million? $5 million? It's still elusive. I can remember after statehood, we were talking about affordable housing, and nearly 60 years later, we're still talking about it. One of the reasons that the housing, like the food, like healthcare, like everything else is so expensive is because of these taxes and because of the costs of government. The cost to run the legislature, for example, a part-time legislature from January to May, is over $38 million. Hey, this adds up. Then we've got the Health Connector, and the Health Connector has burned through $200 million worth of expenses. Your money. It doesn't matter whether they say it's federal dollars or state dollars or county dollars. It's all your money. They take it from you and put it in a different pot. And the unions, the labor unions, are negotiating again. What do they want? They want more money. The Department of Education, they want more money. The University of Hawaii, everybody wants more money. And then the nonprofits come in and they seek grants and aid. Well, here's the deal. You know, we always talk about plantation life in Hawaii. The new plantation is right here. The big square building at 415 South Baratania Street. Why? Because like the old plantations, people come here for their jobs, for their health care, for their education, for their food and food stamps. And by the way, we lead the nation in the amount of food stamps. We lead the nation in the amount of welfare that we pay people. These are not good things necessarily. We lead the nation in homelessness, and it seems to be getting worse. Everybody's got an idea, everybody's got a study, but we really haven't solved any of the problems. That's what we have to do, and you've got to do a better job holding our feet to the fire and doing a better job getting out and electing, and maybe electing some different people. Because you keep electing the same people who make the same decisions, and you find out that maybe they're not always the right decisions, both locally and nationally. So that's what we do. And just a reminder, in case you're tuning in for the first time, why do we call this program A Better Day? Well, there have been a lot of political slogans. The last governor talked about a new day, and then we had new beginnings and things like that. Well, every day is a new day. From our perspective, the Senate minority, our perspective is we want you to have a better day. We want things to be much better for all the residents in Hawaii. We want you to have more choices. But you don't get that with more government. With more government, you get more regulations, and you get told what to do. So just think about that. And as always, if you have any comments or anything else, pick up the phone, send us an email, send us a text, and we'll be glad to respond. Or drop in. As I said, our door is open. Room 214 in your state capitol. By the way, I love it when people come to the Capitol to visit, or they spend a day, or they go to hearings, or they come up in the gallery, particularly young people, when classrooms come. The kids are the best, particularly, you know, if they're under the 4th grade, because they'll ask anything and everything. They're not afraid, they're not abashed, they're not pre-scripted, they ask you about everything. And I wish more people would do that. You should ask questions of the people that you've entrusted to govern you, and you've entrusted your lives and your sacred fortune. So that's our message for today. But here we are in the ending of the first quarter of the year already. So time goes by fast. We want to make sure that we make the best of it. Look, I keep telling you, I have the best staff in the Capitol. I'm really proud of all of them. All of them have a job to do, but they all recognize that we're here to serve you. So today, I'd like to introduce another one of my staff members. It's her first time with us on A Better Day, so shh, be gentle with her. Anyway, it's Maria Calderon, and she's with our Senate Minority Research Department. And Maria, welcome to A Better Day.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're very happy to, and we're going to talk about some of your experiences and all that now that you've gotten your feet wet for several months here. But first of all, tell us a little bit about you, about your background.
Sure. Well, I moved to the island in 2004. I'm originally from New York. I came out here to go to school, and I finished up my undergrad at Hawaii Pacific University in public relations. I worked in PR and marketing for a few years, and then I did a stint in restaurant management over at Gordon Beer, Shed Aloha Tower. And then I decided to go back to school and get my law degree. So I finished up over at Richardson in 2014, and I came to work for you. This is my first session with you, so it's been great.
Had you worked at the Capitol prior to this?
This is my first session.
What brought you here? I mean, you had other choices.
I did, but mainly the time frame of the session dovetailed nicely with my plans to prepare for the bar in July of next summer, and I thought it would be a great idea to get my feet wet with the legislative process and kind of seeing the inner workings of state government and see how law becomes law here in Hawaii.
Oh, you don't want to know that, Maria. You know, it's the old Bismarck quote, if you like sausage or you like laws, don't inquire as to how either is made. Have you gotten a little taste for that so far?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been very, very interesting. I think my favorite thing about this job so far is that I get exposure to lots of different areas of the law. And I'm responsible for covering 4 committees for you. And so through those committees, I get to go to hearings and see what the public has to say and what they think are important issues.
See, this is my favorite part of the legislature, the hearings process. When people come in, I look forward to that because
I do too.
I always learn something. Somebody always has an experience or a thought or an idea of unintended consequences that all us bright minds here in this big square building hadn't thought about.
Yes.
And that's why it's really important, and that's why we encourage people, and they don't have to be erudite, they don't have to be you know, have 7 degrees and all that. Come down and tell their story and share their experiences with us, because I think it's extremely valuable.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think the bright shining point of our state government is the open door policy, which you and a few of the other legislators take the trouble to maintain. It's really nice to see that people really can just walk to your door and
I got to tell you,
what's
it's a
on their
lot
mind.
better. It's a lot better now than it was when after 25 years of saying no, not me, not ever in politics, when I made that fateful decision 18 years ago. That was one of the reasons. I mean, it was hard to see a legislator. The legislators, some of them, treated the public badly. It was really hard to find out what they were doing because, well, to some extent, they still make rules, waive their rules, break their rules, forget their rules. But it's a lot better now, and there is a lot more transparency. And that's one of the reasons that people come down to hearings or ask a legislator to support a bill or introduce a bill to make these changes, and some changes have been made. So that's the good news. But there's still a lot of things that are done behind closed doors.
Very true.
The thing that always bothers me is, as a legislature, we make laws and we tell you what you have to do, and then we exempt ourselves from those very same laws.
That is
so look,
unfortunate.
you got a background in public relations media. You have experience in restaurant. What drove you to law school?
Law school was actually just a dream I always had. My father went to law school in the Philippines, where I was actually born, but my family moved to the United States when I was 3, and he never took the bar exam. He kind of just had to.
Did you move to the East Coast or where?
The East Coast, yes. We moved to Brooklyn, New York first.
Brooklyn.
And then we eventually moved out to the suburbs of Long Island. So it was kind of, you know, walking in Dad's footsteps a little bit, going to law school. And my initial motivation for going to law school in the first place was I was interested in immigration law because it had affected my family so profoundly and many other families. So
and it's a hot topic, of course, today.
Yes.
And will continue to be.
Continue to be.
Sure.
So one of the great things about this job is that I'm somehow using both of my degrees, which I wasn't expecting to do. I'm handling your press releases and your contact with the media, and then I get to do
very well, I might add.
Thank you. And then I get to do my legal research too.
Yeah, we've tried over the last couple of years to make sure that we get our message out. If we relied on the monopoly newspaper, we'd have a difficult time doing that often.
I agree.
And oftentimes people say, well, wait a minute. You're the only minority member out of 25 senators. Why should we even care? Well, one of the reasons is we're on all of the 17 committees and every ad hoc committee and every investigative committee. And as I say, we We do get involved in the advisory and advice and consent. And I take it very seriously, and I love, as I say, public hearings and the ability to ask people questions, more importantly to get answers. So that's good, but you got to get your message out, because I know people often say, well, how come nobody is for this, or nobody is against this, or nobody says anything? They don't mirror what I say. So from our standpoint, we are representing possibly the 48% of the people that didn't get a candidate elected, didn't get a philosophy elected, and if we didn't have our positions here, then who would stand up for the free enterprise system? Who would stand up for the competitive system? I always tell people, look in the Sunday paper every week. They have a column that shows how our congressional delegation voted during the past week. And every week it's exactly the same. House and Senate. Yes, 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 no, no, no. There's no diversity. We talk about diversity in our state, but not when it comes to politics. And that's the problem. I mean, we had Republicans controlled the territory for 50 years. Right. Now we've had the Democrats controlling the state for 60 years. Monopolies really don't help people. We have Hawaiian Electric is a monopoly. We have the highest electric rates in the nation by a factor of 3. And now we're going through that merger process, perhaps, with NextEra of Florida. So we try to bring these things out to the public. We've got press conferences and we've got releases, and you've been doing a good job working with the media. And generally, I think they appreciate our openness and the fact that we never say no comment. Right. And we're always available. So that's what we try to do, make ourselves available. I had mentioned earlier about the importance of the budget, particularly this year, the odd number year. And every year we do an alternative budget. Yes. Paul Harleman is our budget director, very able. And we put that budget up online. We'll have a press conference with the release of the alternative. We have hard copies of it. So we want to make sure that there are alternatives and people do have choices. Because lots of times the reason given for our lowest in the nation voting, tally right now is that, oh, you can't fight City Hall. Oh, it doesn't make a difference. Oh, my vote doesn't count. None of which are true. In fact, all of them are untrue. The only thing that's true is if you don't vote, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that you won't make any difference at all. So we want to get people involved, and one of the reasons, or one of the ways we do that, is of course with media outreach. Yes. Do you have any general comments about media in our community?
It's definitely been interesting to see the interplay between the media and the legislature. I find that there are some legislators that are just media darlings, and they get a lot of coverage, and I think it would maybe behoove the press to always strive for a balanced perspective and get all sides of the issue.
See, part of the problem, though, here's a big secret. We'll just talk among ourselves. We won't let anybody else know. A lot of the people in the media, they don't know anything about the subject they're talking about, and so they rely either on a press release or one person to tell them, and that's not necessarily good coverage of that issue. It's true that some of the issues are complex, but we in elective office, that's our job. Just like you go hire a CPA and they tell you, oh, your taxes are really, really difficult, but you're paying that person, and you're paying that person to make it undifficult for you and to explain it. Same way with us in office. That's our job, to talk to people in a way that they can understand and make it clear, and even the media. I know the media like a lot of colored pictures and animated things.
If it leads, it bleeds, right? Or if it bleeds, it leads. How does it go?
In fairness to the media, and particularly most people get, or more people get their news now from television or from online services. Right. They don't read. So what do you get from a TV story? Maybe a 10-second soundbite, right? And they're always looking for that, that choice thing that you say, or you talk stink about your colleague or about somebody else. And unfortunately, there's no depth in there, and that makes it really difficult. I've had people say to me, boy, that was a dumb thing you said the other night. And I said, well, did you hear everything I said? Well, I heard you say this, which was a part of it. It makes it difficult. So,
well, going back to the alternative budget too, that's definitely one of the more eye-opening things that I've learned, is just how large our state government is.
$25 billion for the operating budget. Then we have, we've got the operating budget, the capital improvements budget, the OHA budget,
Right.
the judiciary budget.
Right.
And then we've got all of the negotiations for salary increases, and then we have all these
Right.
special appropriations bills on top of that, and then emergency appropriations on top of that, and grants and aid on top of that. And pretty soon, you're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars, and you say, where's it going to come from?
Right.
Now, when Dan Inouye was alive, and Senator Inouye was the second leading economic driver in the state, he could command federal funds. We're not getting that anymore. Dan
Right.
Inouye is not here, and our congressional delegation neither has seniority nor clout. And, by the way, here's a news flash for them. The Republicans now control both the House and the Senate and Congress. So when they say they have a seat at the table, that table is way far away. You know, when you go to a restaurant, you're by the restroom, you know, you got a table, but it's way over there. So what else have you found that was particularly of interest to you?
Well, I'm working on a project right now, going through every department's special funds that they have reported to the Department of Budget and Finance. And I'm combing through all the reports, and it's going to be interesting when the alternative budget is published, because it really gives you a good look at where expenses can be trimmed.
And they can be trimmed, of course.
Absolutely.
And by the way, for our viewers, you can look at the state operating budget going up like this from the governor and the legislature, and you'll see our alternative budget go like that in a different direction. And that's what we're saying. Hey, everybody always talks about change, but we're the only ones that are really talking about and walking the talk about change. You've got to do that. There is waste, there is fraud, there is lack of oversight, and there is overspending, particularly on outside contracts. And the amount of money, it's tremendous. So I say again, we're not short of money in this state. It's not a revenue problem, it's an expenditure problem. And you know me, I'm the #1 enemy of special funds. In 18 years, I voted against the creation of every one, because it's a way of hiding money from your regular operating budget and from your regular fiscal analysis.
You're circumventing the legislative process that's in place to...
Well, and not only that, we call them special funds because they're there supposedly earmarked or for a special purpose.
Right.
But when the amount of money rises in that fund, the legislature simply scoops it out, raids the money, puts it in the general fund, and spends it for whatever they want to.
Right, right.
So besides that, what other exciting things you've been doing?
Well, it has been a really cool project to kind of consolidate all of our websites and our communications out to the constituents. We're working on an e-newsletter campaign that we hope to get sent out at least every month, kind of to keep people apprised of what we're up to, important bills that are coming up. We're hoping that it'll be a vehicle to raise public awareness about some of the important bills that we kind of get behind. What else? I've been meeting all the senators. It's been a great experience so far, really.
Any disappointments or any negative things?
I would say that I made the rookie mistake of getting excited about bills that didn't even pass out of committee.
Yeah.
So that was eye-opening too.
And then there's all the bills that never even get a hearing.
Right.
Right.
There's that
and
too.
And there's a lot of good bills. I mean, not just the Senate minority, but my colleagues. They'll introduce bills, and it's up to the committee chairman where the bill is referred, whether or not he or she will hear that bill, and oftentimes they don't. And that's too bad. It's not a question of time necessarily. It's their priorities, and oftentimes they're very good bills. Of course, every year we have a package of empowerment bills, initiative, referendum, recall, term limits, and we have to fight like crazy to get any of them involved because we're the only state in the union that doesn't have one or more of those empowering measures. And you know, if my feeling is, it's not a question of making it easier to vote, it's a question of giving people some real power and alternatives. That's why they don't turn out to vote.
Right.
Well, Maria, it's been, you know, the time has gone by fast, but I'm glad you're enjoying what you're doing, and I'm enjoying that, you know, what you're doing for us, and we hope to do even more in the months ahead. But the main thing is both transparency
Yes.
awareness, and letting people know, so that if you have any question or whatever, you can call Maria, you can call our office, you can come down and visit us. Hey, you're paying for the whole thing. You might as well see what you're paying for, right?
Thank you,
I mean,
Sam.
I love looking up in a gallery and seeing a lot of people there.
Yes.
And I think it's important for people to be there. And we can tell you the days really that are most important, like crossover days when there's a lot of voting, or hearings. You can look at the agendas to see which bills are important. There are things that we can do. I remain an optimist. It's real easy to be pessimistic.
It is.
It's easy to know that some of the problems that we're dealing with right now, we've dealt with 5 years ago, 15
Right.
years ago, 20 years ago, and people say, why don't you solve them? And if you're in the restaurant business, or if you're doing your own business, you're running your family, you don't have the luxury of saying, well, let's defer this for a while, or let's have a blue ribbon panel, or let's have a study. So we'll do it. So any final words?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to have worked for you this session. I'm learning a lot. I really am.
And it's just the beginning. You're going to learn
It's
even
just
more.
the beginning.
Well, that's great. Well, we're happy to have you. Our guest has been Maria Calderon, and she's part of our research staff at the Senate Minority. And as I say, our staff stands by to help you at any time. So thank you for joining us for a better day, and that's what we want you to have, a better day. This is Sam Slom saying aloha.